在138亿年前，全世界、全宇宙只有一个存在，就是那个意识，或者叫佛，或者叫道，或者叫造物主，或者叫神，或者叫老天爷。他没有身体，他无形无相，他可以创造万有，全宇宙只有他。他已经存在了上兆万亿年，但是他无法经验到自己的存在，因为他没有身体啊。他是一团能量，他是一道光，他想经验到自己的存在。如果我们把它称为叫做我的话，他必须要创造出一个东西叫非我。如果我们把它称为叫道的话，他必须要创造出一个非道，他才能经验到自己的存在。在这个世界里是一元的，只有爱，只有祥和，只有和平，只有美。他为了经验到自己的存在，所以他创造出了一个二元对立的世界，而我们现在就生活在这个二元对立的世界。在二元对立，有好就一定有坏，有男人就一定有女人，有阴就一定有阳。再直接一点吧，用一元世界，如果用一个图来表示的话，就是这个图。这是什么？什么元？这叫无极。那二元世界如果用一个图来表示的话，就是什么？太极就出来了。我们要想从二元世界跳到一元，我们就必须要搞懂这个二元世界的设定。我们今天一直在讲自我和我，咱就把这个自我再给大家讲一遍啊，大家理解一下。有两个我，因为二元对立里面有两个我，一个叫真我，一个叫假我。这个假我就是平常我们说的那个小我，或者叫 ego， 或者叫自我，一个意思。这个真我就是我们平常说的高我，或者叫大我，或者叫那个佛，或者叫神，或者叫觉知的那个觉，一个意思啊。那有意思的地方来了，道生一，一生二，二生三，三生万物。这个假我为了让我们感受到真实，为了让我们感受到就是我们，所以它又分裂出了两个我，我们把它称为叫做自我和本我，这就出来三个我了啊。我经常讲张德芬老师的《遇见未知的自己》是入门书啊。为什么这么说呢？就是他把这三者之间的关系讲得很清楚啊。我们的自我和本我还有高我，他用了一个非常形象的东西来表达，就是有一匹马，还有一个马夫，还有一个乘客。那匹马就是自我，叫兽性，也叫做我们的表意识。那个赶马的马夫叫做本我，也叫做我们的意识，或者叫人性。那个坐在马夫里面付钱的那个乘客叫做高我，叫做真我，或者叫做超我啊。这不同流派的叫法不一样，其实是一个意思啊。好，这三个我要去目的地，其实应该谁说了算？应该是后面那个乘客说了算，乘客付钱嘛。但是那个马他不这么认为啊，马他认为他说了算，我怎么拉你怎么走啊？那赶马的人觉得我说了算，我怎么赶他怎么走啊？就是我们的那个自我和本我，那个马跟那个马夫住在哪儿呢？就住在我们的头脑里，就是我们的思维，他平常在掌控我们的人生。就我经常讲这句话，自我是极度自私的，它是我们作为动物的残留，叫兽性。人性呢，它是个很虚的东西，是被教化出来的，是最假的东西，比那个马还假。就是我经常讲这个案例，我很穷的时候，指甲铲了要买个指甲剪，走在天桥上，突然看到有卖指甲剪的，我正准备付钱，城管来了，那小贩拿着指甲剪就跑，我的指甲剪没付钱，还在我手上。这个时候我脑子里又有一个声音说：太棒了，不用给钱。这谁的声音？就是那个马，那个兽性的我，那个自我的声音，因为他自私自利，只关注自己。但是马上就有一个声音出来了：周文强，你这样想还是人吗？人家赚钱多不容易啊！你现在马上追上别人，要不把钱付给别人，要不把指甲剪还给别人，这是谁的声音？本我，那个人性的声音。而这两个我，你不管听谁的，你人生都是错。那个自我强大的人就活成一个自私自利，只顾自己不顾别人。有没有这样的人？这个世界上，或者说有一个词叫兽性大发。什么叫兽性大发？知道吗？就是他明明那么爱你，结果喝点酒刷了9分，或者说一来情绪仿佛变了个人，把你打了一顿。那一刻他就被那个马给掌握了， 那一刻他就是被那个兽性给掌握了。你一定要明白，那个兽性已经存在了多少年了？上万年了。我们人类本来就是个动物，人以前是个动物，现在在科学上我们也被称为高级动物。所以毛利人吃人正不正常？很多人说毛利人为啥吃人？毛利人他没得吃啊。整个新西兰没有任何哺乳性动物，咱们今天看到的牛羊马全是后来欧洲人带过来的。他们本土只有鸟，最大的鸟也被他们整灭绝了，吃完了还不够吃，下海捕鱼，有时候鱼也捕不住，怎么办呢？那就吃人啊，那不开玩笑，这是它的兽性残余。而我们有了文明，几万年我们从山顶洞人慢慢开始进化，有了华夏文明以后，对吧？我们觉得我们不是动物了，我们不是狗，我们不是那些动物，我们是人啊！我们人得讲伦理道德、仁义礼智信。一个自我强大的人活成一个自私自利的小人，一个本我强大的人小时候为父母活，长大以后娶个老婆为老婆活，生个孩子为孩子活，生个孙子为孙子活，没有为自己活过一天。我经常说这句话，死亡一点都不可怕，可怕的是你长这么大你压根儿没活过，没有为自己活过一天。所以那个自我和本我都是假我，它为什么会存在呢？很简单啊，它如果不存在，咱们没法活，没有办法在这个二元对立的世界里生存。我们的高我完全是没有任何记忆的，我们的高我是完全零在的。我们的头脑分左脑跟右脑，一边负责逻辑分析，另外一边负责记忆。就如果我们的高我降临的话，你们知道会发生什么事情吗？你会忘掉你是谁，你会忘掉你来干嘛，你出去遛个弯买个菜，你会忘记回家。所以我们生活在一个现象世界，就必须得有这个所谓的假我的存在。有假我的存在，再说直接点吧，假我的存在就是为了让这款游戏可以玩下去。假我的存在就是让这款游戏可以显得那么逼真。我们的肉身就是一套可穿戴设备，叫 AR， 叫 VR， 穿上它以后，这个游戏才逼真，要不然我们不可能沉浸到这个游戏里。为了让在这个游戏里生存，就必须得有一个这样的自我存在。所以就是意识到这个我是假的，我们要从这里面走出来，走到真我的这个世界里来。我曾经放过一个视频，这个视频讲的非常好，讲的是一个真实的啊，就是说这个视频看100遍都不为过，人家是正儿八经的科学家，研究脑科学的，他就体验到了什么叫开悟，真的就是跳出二元对立，真的就是进入一元，进入合一，和万事万物都融为一体了，真的就是涅槃，就极乐，爽的都不能再爽了。这灯光关一下啊，认真听啊，看过了也要认真看，看100遍都不为过。
I grew up to study the brain because I have a brother who has been diagnosed with a brain disorder, schizophrenia. And as a sister and later as a scientist, I wanted to understand why is it that I can take my dreams, I can connect them to my reality, and I can make my dreams come true. What is it about my brother's brain and his schizophrenia that he cannot connect his dreams to a common and shared reality, so they instead become delusion? So I dedicated my career to research into the severe mental illnesses, and I moved from my home state of Indiana to Boston, where I was working in the lab of Dr. Francine Bennis in the Harvard Department of Psychiatry. And in the lab, we were asking the question, what are the biological differences between the brains of individuals who would be diagnosed as normal control, as compared with the brains of individuals diagnosed with schizophrenia, schizoaffective, or bipolar disorder? So we were essentially mapping the microcircuitry of the brain, which cells are communicating with which cells, with which chemicals, and then in what quantities of those chemicals. So there was a lot of meaning in my life because I was performing this type of research during the day, but then in the evenings and on the weekends, I traveled as an advocate for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. But on the morning of December 10, 1996, I woke up to discover that I had a brain disorder of my own. A blood vessel exploded in the left half of my brain. And in the course of 4 hours, I watched my brain completely deteriorate in its ability to process all information. On the morning of the hemorrhage, I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. I essentially became an infant in a woman's body. If you've ever seen a human brain, it's obvious that the two hemispheres are completely separate from one another. And I have brought for you a real human brain. Thank you. So this is a real human brain. This is the front of the brain, the back of the brain with the spinal cord hanging down. And this is how it would be positioned inside of my head. And when you look at the brain, it's obvious that the two cerebral cortices are completely separate from one another. For those of you who understand computers, our right hemisphere functions like a parallel processor, while our left hemisphere functions like a serial processor. The two hemispheres do communicate with one another through the corpus callosum, which is made up of some 300 million axonal fibers. But other than that, the two hemispheres are completely separate. Because they process information differently, each of our hemispheres think about different things, they care about different things, and dare I say, they have very different personalities. Excuse me. Thank you. It's been a joy. Our right human hemisphere is all about this present moment. It's all about right here, right now. Our right hemisphere, it thinks in pictures, and it learns kinesthetically through the movement of our bodies. Information in the form of energy streams in simultaneously through all of our sensory systems, and then it explodes into this enormous collage of what this present moment looks like, what this present moment smells like and tastes like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. I am an energy being connected to the energy all around me through the consciousness of my right hemisphere. We are energy beings connected to one another through the consciousness of our right hemispheres as one human family. And right here, right now, we are brothers and sisters on this planet, here to make the world a better place. And in this moment, we are perfect, we are whole, and we are beautiful. My left hemisphere, our left hemisphere, is a very different place. Our left hemisphere thinks linearly and methodically. Our left hemisphere is all about the past, and it's all about the future. Our left hemisphere is designed to take that enormous collage of the present moment and start picking out details, and more details about those details. It then categorizes and organizes all that information, associates it with everything in the past we've ever learned, and projects into the future all of our possibilities. And our left hemisphere thinks in language. It's that ongoing brain chatter that connects me and my internal world to my external world. It's that little voice that says to me, hey, you got to remember to pick up bananas on your way home. I need them in the morning. It's that calculating intelligence that reminds me when I have to do my laundry. But perhaps most important, it's that little voice that says to me, I am. I am. And as soon as my left hemisphere says to me, I am, I become separate. I become a single, solid individual, separate from the energy flow around me and separate from you. And this is the portion of my brain that I lost on the morning of my stroke. On the morning of the stroke, I woke up to a pounding pain behind my left eye. And it was the kind of pain, caustic pain, that you get when you bite into ice cream. And it just gripped me, and then it released me. And then it just gripped me, and then it released me. And it was very unusual for me to ever experience any kind of pain, so I thought, okay, I'll just start my normal routine. So I got up and I jumped onto my cardio glider, which is a full body, full exercise machine. And I'm jamming away on this thing, and I'm realizing that my hands look like primitive claws grasping onto the bar. And I thought, that's very peculiar, and I looked down at my body, and I thought, whoa, I am a weird looking thing. And it was as though my consciousness had shifted away from my normal perception of reality, where I'm the person on the machine having the experience, to some esoteric space where I'm witnessing myself having this experience. And it was all very peculiar, and my headache was just getting worse, so I get off the machine, and I'm walking across my living room floor, and I realize that everything inside of my body has slowed way down. And every step is very rigid and very deliberate. There's no fluidity to my pace, and there's this constriction in my area of perception, so I'm just focused on internal systems. And I'm standing in my bathroom getting ready to step into the shower, and I could actually hear the dialogue inside of my body. I heard a little voice saying, okay, you muscles, you got to contract, and you muscles, you relax. And then I lost my balance, and I'm propped up against the wall. And I looked down at my arm, and I realized that I can no longer define the boundaries of my body. I can't define where I begin and where I end, because the atoms and the molecules of my arm blended with the atoms and molecules of the wall. And all I could detect was this energy. And I'm asking myself, what is wrong with me? What is going on? And in that moment, my brain chatter, my left hemisphere brain chatter, went totally silent. Just like someone took a remote control and pushed the mute button. Total silence. And at first I was shocked to find myself inside of a silent mind. But then I was immediately captivated by the magnificence of the energy around me. And because I could no longer identify the boundaries of my body, I felt enormous and expansive. I felt at one with all the energy that was, and it was beautiful there. And then all of a sudden, my left hemisphere comes back online, and it says to me, hey, we got a problem, we got to get some help. And I'm going, oh, I got a problem. So it's like, okay, I got a problem. But then I immediately drifted right back out into the consciousness, and I affectionately refer to this space as La La Land. But it was beautiful there. Imagine what it would be like to be totally disconnected from your brain chatter that connects you to the external world. So here I am in this space, and my job and any stress related to my job, it was gone. And I felt lighter in my body. And imagine all of the relationships in the external world and any stressors related to any of those, they were gone. And I felt this sense of peacefulness. And imagine what it would feel like to lose 37 years of emotional baggage. Oh, I felt euphoria. It was beautiful there. And then again, my left hemisphere comes online, and it says, hey, you've got to pay attention. We've got to get help. And I'm thinking, I got to get help. I got to focus. So I get out of the shower, and I'm mechanically dressed, and I'm walking around my apartment, and I'm thinking, I got to get to work. Can I drive? And in that moment, my right arm went totally paralyzed by my side. Then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke. And then the next thing my brain says to me is, wow, this is so cool. How many brain scientists have the opportunity to study their own brain from the inside out? And then it crosses my mind, but I'm a very busy woman. I don't have time for a stroke. It's like, okay, I can't stop the stroke from happening, so I'll do this for a week or two, and then I'll get back to my routine. Okay, so I got to call help. I got to call work. I could remember the number at work. So I remembered in my office I had a business card with my number on it. So I go into my business room, and I pull out a 3-inch stack of business cards, and I'm looking at the card on top. And even though I could see clearly in my mind's eye what my business card looked like, I couldn't tell if this was my card or not, because all I could see were pixels. And the pixels of the words blended with the pixels of the background and the pixels of the symbols, and I just couldn't tell. And then I would wait for what I call a wave of clarity. And in that moment, I would be able to reattach to normal reality. reality. And I could tell, that's not the card, that's not the card, that's not the card. It took me 45 minutes to get 1 inch down inside of that stack of cards. In the meantime, for 45 minutes, the hemorrhage is getting bigger in my left hemisphere. I do not understand numbers. I do not understand a telephone, but it's the only plan I have. So I take the foam pad and I put it right here. I take the business card, I put it right here, and I'm matching the shape of the squiggles on the card to the shape of the squiggles on the foam pad. But then I would drift back out into La La Land and not remember if, when I come back, if I'd already dialed those numbers. So I had to wield my paralyzed arm like a stump and cover the numbers as I went along and push them so that as I would come back to normal reality, I'd be able to tell, yes, I've already dialed that number. Eventually, the whole number gets dialed, and I'm listening to the phone, and my colleague picks up the phone, and he says to me, and I think to myself, oh my gosh, he sounds like a golden retriever. And so I say to him, clear in my mind, I say to him, this is Jill, I need help. And what comes out of my voice is, and I think, oh my gosh, I sound like a golden retriever. So I didn't know that I couldn't speak or understand language until I tried. So he recognizes that I need help, and he gets me help. And a little while later, I'm riding in an ambulance from one hospital across Boston to Mass General Hospital. And I curl up into a little fetal ball. And just like a balloon, with the last bit of air just right out of the balloon, I just felt my energy lift, and I felt my spirit surrender. And in that moment, I knew that I was no longer the choreographer of my life, and either the doctors rescue my body and give me a second chance at life, or this was perhaps my moment of transition. When I woke later that afternoon, I was shocked to discover that I was still alive. When I felt my spirit surrender, I said goodbye to my life, and my mind was now suspended between two very opposite planes of reality. Stimulation coming in through my sensory systems felt like pure pain. Light burned my brain like wildfire, and sounds were so loud and chaotic that I could not pick a voice out from the background noise, and I just wanted to escape. Because I could not identify the position of my body in space, I felt enormous and expansive, like a genie just liberated from her bottle. And my spirit soared free like a great whale gliding through a sea of silent euphoria. Nirvana. I found nirvana. And I remember thinking there's no way I would ever be able to squeeze the enormousness of myself back inside this tiny little body. But then I realized, but I'm still alive. I'm still alive, and I have found nirvana. And if I have found nirvana and I'm still alive, then everyone who is alive can find nirvana. And I pictured a world filled with beautiful, peaceful, compassionate, loving people who knew that they could come to this space at any time, and that they could purposely choose to step to the right of their left hemispheres and find this peace. And then I realized what a tremendous gift this experience could be. What a stroke of insight this could be to how we live our lives. And it motivated me to recover. 2.5 weeks after the hemorrhage, the surgeons went in and they removed a blood clot the size of a golf ball that was pushing on my language centers. Here I am with my mama, who's a true angel in my life. It took me 8 years to completely recover. So, who are we? We are the life force power of the universe. with manual dexterity and 2 cognitive minds. And we have the power to choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world. Right here, right now, I can step into the consciousness of my right hemisphere where I am the life force power of the universe. I am the life force power of the 50 trillion beautiful molecular geniuses that make up my form, at one with all that is. Or I can choose to step into the consciousness of my left hemisphere, where I become a single individual, a solid, separate from the flow, separate from you. I am Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, intellectual, neuroanatomist. These are the we inside of me. Which would you choose? Which do you choose? And when? I believe that the more time we spend choosing to run the deep inner peace circuitry of our right hemispheres, the more peace we will project into the world, and the more peaceful our planet will be. And I thought that was an idea worth spreading.
你可以想象一下，他说的右脑就是我们的高我，他只能待在当下，他无法理解这个现象世界，他会忘记所有一切，他没有逻辑，没有记忆分析的能力。他说的左脑，你就可以理解成我们的自我，或者说小我，或者说 ego， 或者说假我，他负责逻辑分析和记忆。当他因为中风左脑下线以后，他为什么感受到了无比爽的那个感觉？他瞬间感受到了原来这个世界全是能量体，而且我们是一体的。他的手在浴室当中已经跟墙壁合二为一了，那是一种完全合一的状态，他进入了一体世界，他发现所有一切都是能量体，他进入了涅槃。他说他终于体验到了极乐。想象一下，你的大脑无时无刻都在跟你说话。哎，在座各位，有一个人在街上，哎，你们会不会觉得这个人是个神经病啊？那你每天如果把你脑袋里的话都说出来，你跟他一样。他说他很爽，为什么爽？你知道吗？唰，你家电视有人摁了个静音键，唰，你脑袋里那个哔哔叨哔哔叨哔哔叨已经哔哔叨了37年的声音，唰，消失了。哎呀，好安静，好寂静啊，好美啊！更关键的是，你关于公司的压力、人际关系的压力、这个世界、这个三维世界所有的压力，瞬间全唰全没了，你都忘记你是谁了。他说那个感觉就是涅槃，就是极乐，太美了。他不想回来了，想在那儿待着。结果左脑又上线了，不行，赶快求救。当他要求救的时候，他又思考到了他有名片，但是当他去拿名片，他根本看不清楚了，因为右脑他根本不认识字，他的那个文字在他看来就是一堆像素。打完那个电话号码就忘了拨哪个了，所以要用自己瘫痪的手摁住那个已经打过的，然后再按下一个。但是好不容易打通了，左脑又下线了，他听不清听不懂了，他已经听不懂，没有语言能力了。所以我在这儿给你们揭露一个惊天秘密啊！你们有没有发现那些所有的那些顶级的修仙片或者说那些绝世高手那些武功片都有一个词叫闭关，而且闭关一定要有自己的徒弟在外面守着，不能让别人进他，他就在山洞里待着。你们知道这是为什么吗？就是这个人他完全左脑下线了，他的右脑上线了。他如果一个人给他扔到这个世界，他没法存活。他的弟子就把他关到山洞里，然后照顾他。他会忘记吃饭，忘记睡觉，忘记上厕所。就所以古时候为什么要闭关？现在明白了吧？就给到你一个闭关的环境啊。当然了，这是个比较极端的案例啊，因为这个案例是通过身体内部的一些疾病才让他达到了状态啊。他还有一个点我要分享，就是当他所谓的被送到医院的时候，其实他那个时候已经快死了，他能感受到自己的灵魂已经出来了。他出来以后的感觉是什么？太爽了！哎呀，终于伸了个懒腰。就是你想象一下，各位，你有1.78米，你被塞到那个火柴盒里，塞了那么多年，就终于啊，就那种感觉。所以实际上他都不想回来了，他无法想象自己这么大的身体重新塞回到那个肉身里。我靠！但是他还有使命啊， 他回来以后跟我们说的话是什么？他可以现在随时进入右脑，完全链接上高我，让高我的视角来活，感受到所有一切都是你就是我，我就是你。哎，我们为什么会痛苦？不就是因为有你我之分吗？你把你左口袋的钱装右口袋，你会痛苦吗？那有一个人骗了你30万，你咋痛苦呢？但是如果你觉醒以后，你会发现他也是你啊，他就是你啊，你就不会痛苦了。当然了，他也能重新进入左脑，知道自己是谁，是博士，是神经学的博士啊，能跟所有人做一个切割。好，那我们讲一个是禅定的案例啊。万松，你放下萨古鲁的，他在做禅定之前，他其实已经了了宇宙真相了。通过禅定只是在证悟，所以我给大家放的每一个视频，讲的每一个案例，其实都是给大家支起一个空间。我希望大家一定要去体验，因为你亲身体证到的才是你的嘛。好，灯光关一下，认真看啊，很重要。
I just went and sat on a small hill, which was in the town where I grew up. Till that moment, I always thought, this is me, and that's somebody else. I had no issue with that somebody else, but that is somebody, this is me. For the first time, I did not know which is me and which is not me. What was me was just spread all over the place. I thought this madness lasted for 5-10 minutes, but when I came back to my normal ways of being, 4.5 hours had passed. I'm sitting right there, fully conscious, eyes open. I sat there around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's 7:30 in the evening. Sun has set, and I thought it's only 10 minutes, but 4.5 hours had passed. For the first time in my adult life, tears were flowing to a point where my shirt is completely wet. Me and tears were impossible, I'm like this. I've always been happy, that's never been an issue for me. I was successful with what I was doing, I was young and no problems. I was fine. But I'm bursting with another kind of ecstasy which is indescribable. Every cell in my body is just bursting with ecstasy. I had no words. When I shook my head and tried to ask my skeptical mind, okay, what's happening to me? The only thing that my mind could tell me was, maybe you're going off your rocker.
每一个人都有能力体验到萨古鲁所说的，这是靠主动，你不需要去经历一次中风，经历一次偏瘫。但是如果说你不主动学习，可能你会经历，因为你来到这个世界上的唯一目的就是醒来，但是你不去主动醒来，那个道就想方设法给你制造痛苦，让你醒来。所以我希望大家一定要主动醒来啊，主动醒来很重要。